Today, it's our 500 and something episode of The Grid, and it is Landscape Photography Tips Day. We have some very special guests joining us today. Aaron Babnick, Ian Plant, and Deb Standish will all be joining us live as we share some of our favorite landscape tips, and we're going to get some of yours as well. That's all coming up. Eric Kuna is not here because he is once again gallivanting across the country. He's gallivanting in North Carolina, so he's not here, so we can do whatever we want today, like give away all kinds of cool, fun stuff, which we're going to do starting in about 27.9 seconds.
The Grid is brought to you by Platypod, the tripod alternative that is changing the world. Everybody has a Platypod. You should too. Go to platypod.com.
Hey, everybody. Wow, that was a close shot. Woo! Hey. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another live episode of The Grid. We are happy to have you joining us today on Landscape Photography Tip Day. We got some great guests Skyping in to join us today to share some of their favorite landscape photography tips. Mr. Kuna up in North Carolina, just living the life. He's got his RV, he's got his family, he's got a cool beer, he's on the beach. Right now he is RV'd up on the beach, and I believe he's like in the Outer Banks of North Carolina. Beautiful area up there. I went to a workshop with Moose Peterson up there and had a great time, lots of fun. And anyway, but we're here today. We've got some quick news and stuff. Of course, we have giveaways and all kinds of stuff, but we're very excited to have some really, really wonderful, not just great photographers, but great teachers and passionate instructors with us today. So very excited about that. Okay, what's coming up? First off, my book, this book right here, the travel photography book. The book we've been waiting for forever is finally in stock at Amazon and over at Barnes & Noble. So it's just taken forever and ever to get this book in. There was, first, of course, there's the pandemic, and that took forever. It was supposed to be out for Christmas. And they wound up finally getting it printed, and the print job was not awesome. It was printed and the printer blamed paper and whatever. So they went to a different printer. It's printed absolutely beautifully now, and it's in stock. It's just taken so long. So anyway, it's in stock. It's at Amazon. It's at Barnes & Noble. It's on a discount. Go get it. Just go get a copy if you want to travel, because travel photography is a blast. It's my passion, and so I put all of my favorite tips in there. And anyway, it's available now. Of course, the ebook has been available for a long time, but if you want the print version, which is lovely, go grab it right now. It's not very expensive at all. It's a cheap book, folks. It's cheap. It's a cheap book. All right. What else? Speaking of travel, I am traveling to Prague. I'm going to Prague May 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. And I'm doing a workshop there. I'm doing a photography travel workshop there. It's just 12 people, myself and my co-instructor, Mimo Madani, who is one of the greatest guys, amazing photographer, and just so much fun. We have one spot left. If you want to come and join me in Prague, you can go to scottkelbyworkshops.com and grab that last ticket. So it is available. Someone that was not able to go, we had to reschedule it. This was originally planned for 2020, and we had to move it to later in 2020. 2021, and here it is, 2022, but we're going now, and we're all excited. It's just a few months away. So if you'd like to join us, we're going to have such a great time, and we have such a great group of people put together. This is just a really fun-loving, awesome group, and we're going to have a great time. We're going to have great places. We got a fixer for us over in Prague that's helping us get some special shoots set up for the group, and it's just going to be awesome. So scottkelbyworkshops.com. What else? So a new podcast has launched, and it's a very important one. It is called the Team Epic, the Epic Podcast, and it is hosted by our dear friend and co-instructor Dave Williams, who is an instructor here at Kelby One. And you guys know Dave Williams. He's awesome. But Dave kind of put this whole group together of Team Epic. It's like 10 or 12 different people. I'm one of them. Kuna's one. And a bunch of people that you probably already know, Hilmar and all these folks, are in this Team Epic podcast. It just launched today. And I will have the link for you in a moment. I don't have it right this second, but it is the Team Epic. If you follow Dave Williams, and I'm sure you probably do on Twitter or whatever, he's got a link to it on his site, but I'll find it here for you in just a second. Let's see what else. I have a continuing new topic. I have a continuing series I'm doing on LightroomKillerTips.com. It is called Photoshop for Lightroom users, and it is for beginners for Photoshop. I write it every Tuesday, except for I forgot to post it Tuesday. So I'm going to post it tomorrow. I just forgot. I got a lot on my plate right now. You know, we got this landscape conference coming up. Oh, did I mention we have a landscape conference coming up? So in about 2 weeks, I think it's about 2 weeks, we have the landscape photography conferences coming up. Yeah, it is March 29th and 30th. It's a 2-day event, 2 tracks, 2 days, and a great group of instructors, including Aaron Babnick, Ian Plant, Deb Sandage, and a bunch of other really great people. They've all worked with us before, and it's just a great team put together. Lots of great classes, an incredible class schedule, and you get it archived for a year. So hundreds of photographers all over the world have already signed up to be there. You should be there too. You don't want to miss this. So lots of great stuff coming up. Oh, I've got a class called The Secrets for Creating Epic Skies. I'm doing an entire hour on every cool sky tip you can think of to make your skies look amazing. And I've already put together the outline and everything. I'm telling you, it's going to kill. I wish I could teach it today. I'm so excited about it. So that's one of the classes I'm teaching is on epic skies because, you know, it was famous French photographer, and I'm probably saying his name wrong, but it's Leonard Misson, said, "The sky is the key to the landscape." And so I'll be talking about that and spending a lot of time on that. And you're going to come away with, just from that class, with a toolkit of stuff to do to make your skies look awesome. All right. So we got giveaways today. Oh, by the way, for that, you can go to kelby1live.com to sign up for the lights. kelby1live.com, and you can sign up for the conference there. We'd love to have you. If you sign up now, you save a ton of money. It's super affordable. So go do that right now while we're thinking of it. Okay, giveaways. Well, of course, we're going to give away a copy of the travel photography book by one of my very favorite authors. I love this guy. I could read him all the time. Okay, we're giving away a Platypod accessory kit. So if you already have a Platypod, this would be the stuff that you add to it. Normally $39. Some lucky sucker is going to win it today. And a copy of my big Lightroom Classic book. So this one is the book that takes you, look, it takes you from beginning to end. Like, I just really want to learn Lightroom from the very beginning and set it up right and do it. It's a big, thick book. It's big and thick, but it's great. So I hope you'll check out. It's my own book. It's great, you know, but no, it's very popular. Very, very popular Lightroom book. So anyway, go check all of that stuff out. All right, our giveaways also, besides the books and the accessory kit, we're also giving away the Boris FX plugin, which is a fantastic plugin. They just released a brand new version. Now, Kuna has already downloaded it, and he was telling me that the new stuff is incredible. I can tell you the old stuff was incredible. It does stuff that other plugins just do not do. So anyway, we're going to be giving away a copy of that today. We're going to give away a copy of my go-to plugin for effects, the On1 Effects 2022. We're going to give away that plugin today, and that is just an awesome. I mean, I use it like daily. All right, and that's it. That's all we're giving away today. We're just giving away those things, and that is it. How do you win these? Just go leave us a comment. Just leave a comment anywhere in the comments section, and we'll pick winners and we'll ship them to you wherever you are. So there's that. I got a couple of quick shout outs before we bring in our first guest. Let's see. Paul is saying hi guys from the UK. Alan says greetings from Colorado. B says hi from Lokahatchee, Florida. Yeah, I'm thinking that's Loxahatchee. There's parts of Florida I've never been to. That's one of them. John Dukes. Hello, everyone watching the grid from Mount Airy, Maryland. BR Shooters here from Idaho. Mary Ann's here from Fort Myers. Lord Polly, great name, says hi from Aachen, Germany. And so thanks to everybody who is tuning in from around the world. We'd love to have you here, and we're going to be sharing some of our favorite landscape tips, and we have 3 awesome instructors standing by. So we are, oh, hold on, Robert's here from Tennessee. I don't want to miss Robert. Robert from Tennessee. Hey, Robert. Joining us from Tennessee, home of the Vols. Hope you are a Vols fan, because if not, I can't do anything with you. Anyway, let's see. What else? Kuna's gone. We got tips. You know what? This would be a perfect time to take a short pause. When we come back, we're going to be bringing on Aaron Babnick. And so stick around. We got some landscape tips for you. We want to take your comments and questions, so stick around. We're live here today on The Grid.
All right, I love Lightroom as much as anybody. Lightroom is awesome. It's great for making things brighter and darker and changing the color, changing the contrast. It's great for doing more of the stuff that you do in your camera. But Photoshop is where the magic is. And I just put together a class on one of the most magical parts of Photoshop. It's why you want to go to Photoshop. It's layers. I have a class on mastering layers, and the whole thing is project-based. I'm not just gonna go, here's how you delete a layer, and here's how you add a layer. No. We're gonna build projects from scratch, and it's gonna be so much fun. You're gonna learn so many aspects. You're gonna unlock a whole new world of the way you work in Photoshop. You're gonna go through this whole class, and you're gonna go, holy cow, I can do this. There's not gonna be a single thing that I show you in this class that you're gonna go, I can't do it, it's too hard. Nope. Where do you find it? It's exclusively at kelby1.com.
Boris FX Optics is the definitive digital toolbox for image editing, visual effects, and optical filter simulation. Available as a plugin for Adobe Photoshop and Lightroom, and as a standalone application. Created by Academy Award-winning effects artists, Optics brings Hollywood-quality visual effects to your images. It's easy to explore your creativity with 174 unique filters. Choose from the thousands of installed presets. And use the comprehensive layer and masking system to turn simple photos into cinematic masterpieces. Add light with lens flares, light leaks and gobos. Add style with film stocks and looks. And with Optics 2022, add realistic particle-based effects like smoke, fire, sci-fi and more. All fully customizable to create a unique image. With affordable licensing options and a free trial version, there's no reason not to see for yourself why professional photographers, artists and designers love working with Boris FX Optics. Download it now.
This segment of The Grid is brought to you by B&H Photo, the professional source since 1973.
We've got Erin hanging off on in the side. We're bringing her on in just a moment. Hey, I wanted to mention something. You know, there was something I wanted to say in that first one. You could tell I was like reaching, like, what was it? I had this. So I wanted to say a real quick thing before we bring Erin on. And it was what I meant to say in the first segment, which was you guys probably saw this week that Apple came out with a whole new series of computers, and they're made for creative types, right? They're the Studio series, right? So you have the like iMacs, and then you have the Mac Pros, which are ridiculously crazy expensive, and now you have this kind of middle ground in the middle, but the specs are insane, right? And so I know that some of you out there, I've seen some tweets and stuff saying, oh man, I want to get this new one. Well, I've got the brand new Mac. This is the brand new M1 Mac. And I would say this to you, if you're thinking of getting a new Mac, I would say don't. The one you have is fine. Because here's what happens. You spend all this money and you upgrade. And the first couple of days you get it, it's faster. You go, yeah, this is faster. But it's not so fast that like it changes your life. Now, if you do video, if video is your bag, I would say it's probably worth the investment. if you do video as a living, like you make your living doing video, yeah, I'd say get one. But if you do photography with a Mac, like I can't really say that, like, for example, you use Lightroom, right? When I move a slider, it works. Everything happens in real time. It did on my old Mac, and it's exactly the same on my new Mac. When I open Photoshop and I open a file and I work on it, all the tools work in real time. We're not waiting for anything anymore, right? And I don't mean with the M1. I mean with whatever Mac you have. You're not sitting there watching status bars and going, well, I can't do anything for the next 5 minutes, right? You know what? Every once in a while, every rare once in a while in Photoshop, a status bar comes up. The radial filter. The radial filter is one that you use, and I set it to best quality, and it might take 6 seconds, and on my M1, it probably takes 3 seconds. How often do I run the radial filter? It's the only one I see a bar come up. So I did. I mean, I have a new Mac, and I guess it's faster, but here's the thing. It only feels faster for the first 2 weeks, and then you get acclimated to the speed, and then it feels regular. So it's a lot of money to spend to not be blown away by and because you read these things and like it's screaming fast, it's this and it's that, and you look at it and you're like, I've got it, and yeah, it's better. Is it thousands of dollars better? No. Is it $200 better? Yeah. I just want to put that out there because I know that a lot of people are expecting a giant speed boost. Now, if you've got a Mac that's 7 years old, yeah, you're going to see the difference. But over the years, I bought new Macs and new Macs and new Macs, and I've never had one where I felt like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. They're always like, people are like, yeah, is it faster? And I'm like, yeah, it's a little faster. But you get past that fastness really quick, and it just feels regular 2 weeks down the road. It's not like you're using it 3 months into it and going, man, this thing is so fast. So I wanted to put that out there because I know a lot of you think about it yourself. How often are you sitting around waiting for something to happen in Lightroom or Photoshop or a plugin? Like you're waiting for it to render, or you're waiting for a status bar. That stuff's almost not even a part of our lives anymore unless you do professional level video. Video, you got to render, and if it cuts you down from 7-minute render to a 4-minute render, and you do that all day, every day, it adds up and it's worth it. But for photography, I can't tell you with a straight face you should buy a new Mac. Just wanted to throw that out there. Now, thank you for waiting very patiently. Aaron Babnick is joining us. Hi, Aaron. Hey, how you doing?
Hey, Scott.
Good to see you. You know what's interesting? You can't tell because you can't see me, right?
I cannot.
But you and I have almost the identical length hair. Like
Really?
I've really let mine grow out. I'm in my Bon Jovi phase, and my is almost identical. It's just dark. It's just brown. But
I need to see.
it's the same that you can't see because it is. I'm really, and I teased it out today, 80s rock style. So it's a shame.
Are you wearing purple also?
Yes, I am.
Wow.
So yeah, it's crazy.
I'm missing out here.
I know it's nuts. But anyway, thank you for joining us. You are. Oh, you can see me now. Oh, this is me. Hi. Okay, well, that ruse didn't last very long. Darn it. All right, anyway, but we're glad to have you here on Landscape Photography Tip Day. And so you're one of the instructors for the Landscape Conference, and so we're very, very happy about that.
I am as well.
Yeah, it'll be fun. These conferences, people that haven't been to them before, they're always shocked at how well they come off. Like there's this great feeling of we're all in this together, like that we're all working and all learning from each other and sharing. And there's a tremendous amount of community that goes on in the chats as classes are going on and afterwards, and the Q&As and stuff. And I think people are surprised. And we have evaluation forms that we get for each conference, and they keep getting better and better. But the approval rating that says, would you come to another one of these from us, is like 99.7%. And then there's always that one guy, Aaron. There's always that one guy that hated every minute of it. And then, like, it was the worst thing I've ever experienced. And then if you follow up with him and you're like, well, what was bad about it? Well, I'm running this on a 7-year-old PC, and I'm using the Netscape browser. they're using I'm using Opera. They're using some weird off-brand, and they're like using dial-up and stuff. It's just, but there's always that one person that, everyone's like, this was awesome. And this one person was like, it's just.
Usually the biggest complaint is that it had to end,
Yeah, right?
Yeah. And there is a special kind of level of engagement that you get out of these online conferences that is pretty unique to them, with the chat being part of it. That's just not something that has a straightforward equivalent, even in a real in-person event. So I think people really enjoy that.
Yeah, they do. And it's so weird. One thing I never expected was how many people said they prefer the online to the in-person, and their reasons I just never thought about it, because I love live events, was, well, I'm sitting in my favorite chair at home. It's not a conference chair at the convention center. I can get up anytime and go to my fridge. I don't have to wait in line at a snack bar that's far away. It's like right there. I can have my snacks and stuff anytime I want. And it's like, and I have it archived for a year and all that. There's all these things that I really hadn't thought about, but I'm like, that does sound nice, because I have a favorite chair at home, and it's one of those ones with the electric thing where your legs go up and you fall asleep immediately. It's awesome. But anyway, so I do want to share some landscape tips. So, have you got any great landscape tips?
I have a lot of them. How many do we have time for? Should I give you my top 3?
Yeah,
5, 6?
give me your top 3. We'll see if we got any more
right.
time. All right.
All right, let's, I think number 1 would have to be to explore. I always say the more that you find to photograph, the more that you find yourself. The best thing that you can do in landscape photography is explore. And that doesn't necessarily mean getting out there and boots on the ground kind of exploration. It might mean getting out the telephoto lens and just looking at things that you can't really see very well with the naked eye. Changing your lens to something ultra wide and getting really close to things, and just sort of explore what's out there that maybe you don't see at first glance. So that would be my first tip.
Ooh, I love that tip. I tell people the same thing, because a lot of people don't think about taking, for example, a long lens for landscape.
Yeah.
But you see things that you will not see with a 24 millimeter. So, everybody wants to do that, but you went both ends of the spectrum. You said, get that ultra wide and get something, get up something in your foreground up close and all. You're off to a good start. Yeah.
Something that you can make a wonderful image out of that other people just walk right past, because maybe it's a little small patch of flowers, but you get an ultra wide angle lens down in there, suddenly, it's an enormous feature. So, yeah.
All right. Well, you're off to a good start.
Okay. Number 2, are you ready for number 2?
Sure.
Okay. I would say play would be my second, my number 2, because inspiration meets you halfway. When you're out there, sometimes you're not really sure what you're looking for. It might not be obvious. There might not be that moment when the rainbows and the unicorns are all out and it's like, okay, yeah, this is amazing. You might need to work for it a little bit more. So that's why I always say that inspiration meets you halfway. If you're in a playful mood and you think, you know what, I do want to create an image right now, you're going to get out there and just mess around with stuff. And eventually you'll kind of get hooked on an idea. It'll become kind of an obsession. And eventually you'll figure it out and you'll work it into an image that you never would have thought of going up to that point. So you have to play your way into it sometimes.
All right. These are great. That is great. And I've had that exact same thing happen. How you feel when you're out shooting and what your state of mind is, right? If you're in a playful mood, doors will open that will not open if you're being super serious and you're, like, I'm going to shoot this particular thing. I put my blinders on and this is what I'm going to do. I love that tip. All right. So you're going to have to do more than 3 now, because you're on a roll. So just want to warn you. Okay. These are so good. All right. What else do we have?
So I guess maybe it's a toss up with some of the others, but I also really think it's important to learn to let go. And by that, I mean not just of your expectations when you're in a place where you get there and you were expecting one set of conditions and you get something else, but also to kind of let go of technique being the guiding light for you. A lot of people have trouble with that. And so sometimes it helps to just remember that you are out there to see and create. And if that means that the only way to pull it off is to photograph something handheld, or if that means that you're out in like really shaky conditions because the wind is blowing, but that creates some kind of beautiful atmospheric effect with maybe blowing sand or something, that might be way better than an absolutely perfectly tack sharp image because it's something special. So sometimes you have to just learn to let go and go with what you see.
You're all right. Okay. All right. Well, it's really break time, but I'm not going to let you stop. So
okay.
Give us a couple more. You know
All
what?
right.
I love these. You know what I love about these? These aren't use this f-stop, use this ISO. These are the bigger picture stuff of landscape photography. This is the stuff that actually pays off. This is the stuff. Okay. All right. So come on, give us another
All
one.
right. In the same vein, go big. And by that, I don't mean print big, which is great if you're into that. But I mean, if you have an idea, ask yourself, what is the fullest expression of that? How can I really just go all the way with this idea? And if that means you have a composition, but you know it would really be better coming back in a month or in a different season or maybe next year, do that. Go for it. Do what you can do at the time, but also go big, go all the way. Don't let yourself settle if you don't have to. Find the way to make it work.
All right. Can you do one more?
Sure.
All right, great. That's all I'll ask you is just one more. But if they be,
All right.
these are so good, though.
This is a deep one. Are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Imagine. So I think it's really important to read what you see as being something other than literally what you see. Try to see the story in there. I like to see every feature in a landscape, a mountain or a tree, as abstract sculptures in a landscape or characters maybe in dialogue with each other. And that often gives me great compositional ideas and helps me think through a scene. So let your imagination play a big role in seeing and composing.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Those were great. Those were really good. And those are my favorite kind of tips. Where can people learn more about you in the meantime? Where can they find you on social and stuff? They
can find me, Erin Bobnick, everywhere, erinbobnick.com, on Instagram, on Facebook, all of that. But my website is a really good place to go.
All right. And it's the same, right? It's your name.
Yes.
All right, good. All right. Well, thank you so much. We're looking forward to seeing you at the conference. Thank you for sharing. Those tips were great. Thank you very much. We appreciate it very much. All right, gang. Thank you. Well, we'll continue on, and we're going to take a short pause. Coming up next is Ian Plant. We're going to take a short one. Don't go away. We'll be right back with more landscape tips here today on The Grid. Don't go away.
Hey everyone, I'm professional landscape photographer Ian Plant, and right now I am in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan along the scenic south shore of Lake Superior to do some winter landscape photography. And what brought me here is the amazing ice formations that you can find along the sandstone cliffs and caves of this region. And while I'm here, I'm going to share with you some of my favorite tips and techniques for taking amazing winter landscape photos. I'm going to talk about finding the best winter landscape subjects and creating dynamic compositions and visual designs that will draw the viewer deeper into your photograph. I'm also going to talk about the best light, color, and weather for winter landscape photos. And I'm going to discuss the practical aspects of successful winter landscape photography, making sure that you've got the right clothing to keep you warm and making sure that you can keep your gear safe from the cold weather. And we're going to take this from abstract theory to practical application. I'm going to take you with me along on a few photo shoots inside some of the ice caves up here. So join me for my latest class over at kelby1.com.
This segment of The Grid is brought to you by Canon.
We're back. I was just kind of talking with Ian there. He's waiting in the wings. We're going to have him on in just a second. Couple of things. First, I've got a landscape tip. I'm going to just share a couple as we go, and I've got one for you. And it's kind of a tip about perseverance, because one of the ways to get a great shot is to be willing to go back to a great location again and maybe again and maybe again, because you're at the mercy of Mother Nature. You could show up at a beautiful lake scene with this great foreground and these rocks and this still water in the mountains, and there could be not a single cloud in the sky, or the light could be kind of or what's worse is, and this happens often in landscape photography, you show up before dawn and it just gets brighter. You don't really have a sunrise. It's just, it was dark and then it's bright, and you don't have any clouds to hold the color or anything. So if you know you've got a great location, in your mind, be willing to come back 2 or 3 different times. And I'm going to mention a controversial photographer. If I can, his name just escapes me. The guy who has come on, what's his name? He's Australian. He's got all of the galleries in Vegas. Anybody help me out? You guys know who he is. Very famous landscape photographer. He's got galleries in Vegas, and I just cannot remember his name. He has 2 galleries in Caesars Forum. He has 2 galleries in the same mall, and he's big, beautiful prints and stuff. And I really like his work, but photographers are very critical of him because he's very successful. So I can't think of his name right now. Come on, nobody here knows. Peter Lick. Thank you. Well done. All right. So Peter Lick. I really like Peter Lick's work, and I've been in his galleries many times, and his stuff looks amazing. And if you talk to the people that are there to sell you his work, it's very expensive, but it's just gorgeous. Very, very large prints, beautifully lit and all. And they'll tell you the story. Oh, wait, he stayed in this location for 6 nights until he could get this shot, or he stayed here for a week and a half until he could get the light and the sky just right. And you look up and he's selling these prints for $15,000, and you're like, yeah, I can't argue with that. I mean, it looks great, the color's great, the sky's perfect and all. Just think about it. Think of how lucky you would have to be to roll up on a scene and it's an amazing sky. It's luck. Mother Nature controls the sky, not you. You can have everything perfect. You can be there at the right time with the right lens, the right gear, the right accessories. You've had coffee, you're ready to go, and not a cloud in the sky, and it just gets brighter, or it's overcast, or it's rainy, and you've done everything right, and you come away with nothing. My tip is be willing to go back to a great location until you nail the shot. Okay, that was my tip. All right, what else? We got a couple of questions. John Dukes has a great one. He says, if you want to take awesome landscape photos, you have to put your camera in front of some awesome scenes. And I totally agree with that. If you stand in front of something awesome, your chances of taking an awesome picture go way, way up. Bill Mitchell says, does anyone know where the cover photo on Scott's travel book was taken? Bill, I have no idea. I found it online. No, I took the shot. These are the, and I could be pronouncing this right. It's either the Dolomites or the Dolomites in northern Italy. So it was I'm going to say a 2.5 hour, 3 hour drive from Venice. It's a beautiful drive, and basically it is the Alps that go between Italy and I think either the French Alps or the Swiss Alps, but it is an absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous region. And there's the cover right there, and that's taken from a little hillside, and there's a very, very famous church back there that people like to shoot that's kind of in the middle of a very, very small, it looks like a little Greek Orthodox or Russian Orthodox church over there. But I don't know exactly how it's pronounced, but if you look up Dolomites, and I will tell you the weirdest thing. Someone wrote in here, Dolomites? Okay, it's even different than I thought. But it's wonderful. It's an absolutely wonderful region with great food, but they don't speak regular Italian. They have a separate dialect up there. So if you're fluent in Italian, get ready for a weird experience. Okay, now we have waiting in the wings. Ian Plant is here, but before Ian comes on, I just want to say I'm such a huge fan of his work. I don't know if you have seen. Well, you might have seen the little trailer we played, but your stuff is outstanding, and you're willing to do things I am not willing to do. You are willing to hike and do very hard things. I like to shoot from the window of my car or even from my hotel room. But you're willing to go out there and hike and go in the snow and go wherever it takes to get the images, and it shows in your work. So first, thank you very much for being here. We're very excited to have you here today.
Well, thank you very much, Scott. I'm very excited to be here. And, some people say that the greatest art comes from suffering. Well, no one suffers more than landscape photographers. We're out there in the cold. We're out there bitten by bugs. We're out there in the freezing rain and the high winds, and it can often be absolutely miserable. So that's why we make the best art.
That's cool. You know what else is cool? The way you can switch your camera angles. That's really slick. I saw the wide shot and then you're tight, and it's like, oh, that's cool. All right. Anyway, but yeah, I can tell that you have suffered for your art because you've got some just amazing shots. I asked the crew to bring up your website so people could get an idea. Maybe they saw it from the trailer from your Kelby One course, but man, I love your post-processing style too. I love your compositional style. I mean, you just got some really great stuff, but that stuff did not fall into your lap. You worked hard to get that stuff. So, Eric and I have great admiration for photographers who are willing to do what it takes to get the shot, whether it's traversing, scary places, high places, bad weather, and all that stuff. But it really shows. You look at your work and you're like, yep, that's what happens when you really bust your butt. If you're really willing to go. There was one of the ones, look at those. I love the second. Well, can we look at the very first shot? Can you click on the very first shot? Wow. Where the heck is that?
I honestly, I can't see what's going on right now, so you'll have to paint me a word picture.
All right. It's a really pretty picture it looks like it could be the Dolomites. Have you been there? Have you been?
No, I have not. So okay. I'm guessing if you're on my website, if it's the very first picture, that is down in Patagonia in Torres del Paine National Park in Chile.
That was my second guess. Okay, that is on my to-do list. I want to go to Patagonia. But it's not easy to get there, is it?
It's a lot easier to get there now. I mean, when I first went, before I got there, that's the one. That's Patagonia. That's in Chile. Man. And it's a lot easier to get there now. I remember that it used to be that you'd have to take a 30-hour bus ride from Buenos Aires to get down to that area. But now you can fly into a regional airport that puts you pretty much in the center of the Patagonia region. And there's great roads, great highways. So it's a lot easier to go down there and travel than it used to, which is why I think the area has exploded so much in popularity in the past 10 or 15 years.
Yeah. Wow. That's just every time I see one, that's the way I felt about the Dolomites or the Dolomites or whatever it's called was you saw nothing from there. And then all of a sudden you see these shots and you're like, where is that? Well, that's the way I feel about Patagonia. I know it's gotten more popular, but you just still don't see that many shots of it. But wow, it is, and we're just scrolling through your site here, looking at the wildlife and the landscape, and wow. Now, Emmy Denton has a comment, and she says, I guess to be a good landscape photographer, you have to be very adventurous. You don't have to be very adventurous. There's a lot of landscape photographers who are 80 years old that are not very adventurous. They're very careful at all. You have to be, you know what it is? Jerry wrote down here, commitment and perseverance gets the shot. And I think that is much more. It is great if you can be adventurous. It's great if you can get action photography and things like that. But at the end of the day, you can take really, really great shots from very easy to get to locations. However, if you're willing to go to those places that nobody's been for a good reason, then obviously you're going to get some different shots. But that's,
yeah, I mean, being adventurous, going to exotic locations is one way of doing it. But I find that you can make great landscape photos anywhere. I mean, so one of the first book projects I worked on many, many years ago after I turned pro was I did a coffee table book on the Chesapeake Bay. And this was when I was living in the mid-Atlantic area. And the Chesapeake Bay is just a very flat place. It's just salt marsh. But even then, as long as you're creative, you can go into these places and you can make really amazing landscape photos if you just pay attention to the basics, if you figure out a way to create compositions that incorporate drama in the sky. So I'm often waiting for really great weather, light, and clouds in the sky, and finding a way to tie that to the landscape. You don't really need a beautiful landscape in front of you to make amazing landscape photos. I think one of the key tips that I like to convey to people is that the landscape, the beautiful scenery, the thing that you're going to photograph, that's not really your subject. So that beautiful mountain range, that's not really your subject. It's just an ingredient of an overall landscape composition. And there are other ingredients that go into these landscape shots. So there is the sky, what I mentioned earlier, and there's also finding a really compelling foreground, something to lead the eye deeper into the scene, to pull the viewer vicariously into the scene and to hold their interest over time. You get all these things working together, and that beautiful scenery just becomes the cherry on top of the sundae. It's the icing on the cake.
Well, yeah, you just gave a textbook perfect explanation of composition. If you do a great composition, right, it sucks you into the picture. And like like you said, building that foreground and the sky and all is like, you really nailed it. But look at I don't know if you can't probably see what's on our screen right now, but
I can see it.
Oh, okay. Look at the great composition you have here, right? The leading lines that are leading you to the subject, and you've got this great sky, and the sky is working so well. And I think this is because of your lens choice. The sky is mimicking the ground in such a great way that there's no place for you to look but at the subject. It's such a great composition. I notice this a lot in your work, is you really got a gift for composition. And that's why, by the way, you're able to take, scenes and make them so interesting. Now, looking at your shots, you have a lot of cherry on top locations here. Like this one with a bunch of penguins and a perfect rainbow and a very cool sky to hold that rainbow. I'm guessing Galapagos.
That was in the Falkland Islands. That was a king penguin colony, and it was a great moment because the rainbow appeared. Actually, it's a double rainbow, and all the penguins are looking at the rainbow. It looks like they're staring at the rainbow in awe. Actually, there was this really heavy wind, and they were basically turning away from the wind to keep warm. But I just love the way they all look like they're just looking at the rainbow.
Hey, look at this rainbow. All right.
Yeah.
So you've already shared a wonderful landscape tip. Can you share a couple more with us?
Yeah, so absolutely. I mean, I'll kind of break down what I was saying earlier. So to me, the key ingredients of a successful landscape shot, first, you've got that background scenery. Second of all, you want to find a really interesting foreground. So I spend a lot of time looking for something that is going to be compelling, that I can put in between me and my background subject. And this is going to help lead the viewer in, as I said earlier. And so you want to find a foreground that's going to create a shape that is dynamic, that is eye-catching. It's going to be the invitation to the viewer deeper into the composition. So you want it to create a shape that relates to the background. So I'm often looking for leading lines, or maybe something that forms like a triangle or an S-curve, and that is going to facilitate the viewer's journey to the background. And of course, you were talking earlier about perseverance, waiting for those amazing skies. So when I go out and find these landscape compositions, a lot of what I'm doing is looking for that interesting juxtaposition of foreground and background. And then when I find these shots, then you got to go back for sunrise and sunset and twilight and wait for that amazing sky, that amazing light. And sometimes I have to go back once, twice, 3 times, a dozen times, 3 dozen times. There's a few compositions that I've got in my back pocket that I've been working on for years. I keep going back over and over again to the same composition, and I still haven't quite got it right. And so when you're trying to build these compositions that have foreground, background, dramatic sky, you're going to need to go wide. So that's another tip. And I think for folks who are not used to doing landscape, using a wide angle lens is a little counterintuitive, because when you go wide, that makes everything smaller. So that beautiful scenery gets a lot smaller in a wide angle composition. But you can get close with that wide angle lens to a dramatic foreground. You can make it look much bigger and more prominent in the composition, and you can really make that strong near-far visual juxtaposition. And I think that's the key to making a really compelling landscape shot. So the background scenery, that does get reduced in size. It gets pushed to the background. But when you create that overall composition, it's going to be a much more effective invitation to the viewer, and it's really going to hold their interest over time.
Boy, that is a great. There was a great example of what you're talking about on screen just a moment ago. Can we bring back his site and go back 2 images? Can we bring that back up? Not that one. It was just, you had it up 2 images ago. There, down one row, over 4, right there. Well, this is exactly what you were talking about. I don't know if you can see this on screen. You've gotten down low, and there is a foreground object that in real life is probably very small. But man, your composition skills are just wonderful. I mean, this is an image you would use in a class on composition. Can you see what we're seeing on screen? The image that we're seeing. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah, this was taken. Yeah, it was taken along the Oregon coast, and this is what I was saying earlier about how the scenery isn't really your subject. So people go to the Oregon coast to see these dramatic sea stacks. And so the sea stacks are in the shot, but they've been pushed to the background and reduced in size. And the photograph is really more about everything else going on around it. The scenery, that landscape subject, really just becomes a focal point for the viewer that just draws the viewer to that spot in the background. And so I was wandering the beach looking for something interesting, and I saw this piece of kelp that had washed up on the shore, and I loved its curving shape, and it was wet, so it was also reflecting light from the sky above. And so that helped it stand out from the surroundings. And the sun was setting behind that sea stack in the background, creating these shadows. And the shadow creates these 2 diagonal lines. You can see the line coming in on the left and the right, and they are narrowing and converging to that sea stack in the background. So I just waited for the moment when the sun was just behind the sea stack, and I used a wide angle lens with a small aperture, creating that starburst effect. And so that bright spot behind the sea stack creates this halo and that starburst, and that helps draw the eye to that spot as well. So the foreground and the background are all working together, and all of the other compositional shapes are facilitating the viewer's journey deeper into the composition.
Wow, that is so beautifully done. And can I use your picture to give my tip? Because the tip that I was going to give in the next segment, but I'm going to give it now because it's in your picture, was how to get that starburst effect. And you mentioned it, but I wanted to get more specific with it. So the tip I was going to give is, if you want to get that starburst effect where the sun isn't just a round ball, but you see these little spikes coming off of it and all, there are 2 tricks, and you mentioned one of them. One of them was to use a very small aperture. I would just go to f/22 or f/18 or something, at least f/16 or higher, but I would just by default go to f/22, which is going to give you that starburst effect. But the other secret is, and his photo does both of them, is have it touch the edge of something. If it touches the edge of a mountain, or in this case a sea stack, or the edge of a tree or whatever, that's when you get that starburst effect. So it's a 2-part trick. f/22 will get it done, and so will waiting and having it touch the edge of something. You can really get that starburst. Otherwise, the sun appears as just a white glow in your picture, but that's how you see that awesome starburst that you have in that. But man, that's a great shot. Thank you for letting me borrow it for my tip.
My pleasure.
All right, it is time for us to take a break, but before we do, Ian, where can people go and learn more about you or follow you on social? Where can they go?
Well, if you just go to my website, ianplant.com, that will give you links out to everything that's important that I've got to offer. And one thing you can get there also, there's a link at the top of the webpage in the menu to my free ebook. So if you want to learn more from me, you can download that.
Nice. All right, Ian. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate the tips. Man, you got some good work, buddy. You're shooting some good stuff.
Thank you very much. It's been an honor and a privilege to be here.
Thanks. We look forward to seeing you at the conference in just a few weeks. Thanks again. Cheers.
Absolutely. Thanks. Bye.
Dang, that guy's good, right? And he's got it all. His compositional stuff. Seriously, I mean, he's doing everything right. Obviously, he's going to great locations. He's shooting in perfect light. But his compositional skills and his post-processing, whew, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. All right, we are going to take a short break. And one of my favorite instructors is waiting in the wings. Deb Sandich is with us. So stick around. We'll be right back with some more landscape tips. Don't go away.
Hi, my name is Ibarian X. Perella. I'm a photographer, as well as the host and producer of the Candid Frame Photography podcast. And you may also recognize me from another course that I taught here at Kelby 1, my course on street photography. Well, this course is something different. It's teaching you how to become your own best editor. Now, regardless of how long you've been making pictures or how experienced you are with a camera, there comes a time where you have to be able to assess your own work. Not whether an image is good or bad, but what that body of work means and what you want to do with it. And that's the role of the editor, and that's what I'm going to teach you. I'm going to teach you my own personal process and how I use Adobe Lightroom Classic to look at images from a shoot or a project and discern which of those images are the best and translate them into a gallery, a spread in a magazine, or a book or an exhibition. All those pictures that you love to create into something that has greater meaning than whether that picture looks good as an individual photograph. This course is a lot of fun, and it's a breakthrough for many that I've taught in my in-person and online workshops, and I'm looking forward to sharing that with you. Join me on my course on Kelby 1. You're bound to have a lot of fun.
This segment of The Grid is brought to you by Platypod, the world's most compact tripod base.
Hey, there we are. All right, we are back, everybody. Thank you for sticking with us today. We've got some great tips coming up. I'm going to give you just a couple of quick tips, and then we're going to bring Deb on. This is actually a page in one of my books where I gave the 7 deadly sins of landscape photography. And I'm going to give you the 7 real quick because it's short. These are things not to do, right? So when you're sitting there like, okay, what should I avoid? I'll just tell you the things that mostly don't work. So it's the 7 deadly sins of landscape photography. Number 1, choppy water. So the reason why we get up really early in the morning and why we get up at dawn and stuff is because that's when in a lake or a harbor or something like that, you'll get nice still water. If you wait till like 9 a.m. where everyone's kind of sleeping in a little bit, you're going to get ugly, choppy water. Choppy water's ugly. Number 2, frozen water in waterfalls. So we traditionally like to see the motion of the water. Like we want to see the smooth, silky waterfall. If you shoot at a high shutter speed, it freezes it, and it looks stupid. Stupid. So that's the second deadly sin. You want to use a long exposure, keep your shutter open long enough for the water to move, and you get that smooth, silky look. Number 3, bald, cloudless skies. That's it's the clouds that hold the color. And plus, we love clouds. Like as just people, we love clouds. We look to the clouds. We write about clouds. There's poems about clouds. The romance of the landscape comes from the clouds. So bald, cloudless skies are not generally awesome. Number 4, shooting in harsh midday sun. We shoot at dawn and around dusk. Those are our shooting times. Why? Because the light is beautiful. What is it at 2 o'clock in the afternoon? Horrid, sharp, awful, terrible. So that's number 4. Number 5, one that you guys know because you watch the grid, particularly irks myself and Mr. Kuna, a crooked horizon line. Come on, every program you have that opens photos will straighten it. Just straighten your horizon line. Number 6, distracting junk near the edges of your photo. I know that you took the shot and you're looking at this thing in the middle, but we see all of it. Like we see the branch coming in from the side and the garbage on the left and this twig on the right and all around the edges of your photos. You are responsible for the whole photo. We're not just going to ignore that stuff. You're looking at the subject, but we're looking at the whole picture. So number 7 is you don't have a foreground element. So for a landscape shot to have depth, and you just saw wonderful examples of this in Ian's work, you have a foreground element that leads you to the middle ground, that leads you to the background, that leads you to the sky. It's layers that lead you in it and make it epic. I see so many people who will shoot a lake and they start their photo in the middle of the lake. So you only have a middle ground and a background, and it doesn't have the depth. To get that depth, you want something in your foreground to lead you into the photo. And again, we don't have to go into that because we just saw so many great examples. All right, I want to give you a tip from Diane. Diane Stevenson gave us this tip, and it is a very, very good tip. This is wonderful. She says, my tip is to be patient and take the extra time to scout your location. If you pop up that tripod in the first spot you find, you may miss out on the most amazing photograph just waiting to be discovered. Diane, that's a better tip than you think it is. So many photographers will walk out, they'll set their tripod down, and that is their shooting spot. And they won't move from that spot. They don't look behind them. They don't look to the left or to the right. That's their spot, and they will stay there the whole time. I've been on so many workshops where I see exactly that, and you have to go over to them and go, let's look for something else. Let's pick up that tripod, move 4 feet to your left, aim over that way. But that is such a great tip, Diane. Thank you very much for sharing that. All right. Waiting in the wings, as I mentioned before the break, is one of my favorite instructors, a wonderful photographer, a wonderful instructor, a wonderful person. Deb, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. That was a great tip Diane gave, actually.
Right.
She stole my first tip.
No, her tip is right. It's so good. You stole Deb's first. You stole Deb's first tip right out of the right back. Well, thank you, though. We're happy to have you at the conference in a couple of weeks, and thank you so much for joining us today. All right, you got some good landscape tips. Oh, well, I know you have good landscape tips because you already had one of yours poached.
Yes, and that's a real consideration. So, and she also mentioned scouting, and that's super important. Researching a location, scouting location. If you can get there early and find your composition, find variations of the composition, that's super helpful. So that's one of the things that I like to consider first.
Yeah, I spend a reasonable amount of time. I think Mr. Kuna spends more time than anyone on earth researching a location. But I do. I don't want to go there because you know what? I got burned. One year, my assistant and I flew out to Sedona, Arizona. Right? Is it Sedona? Right? I think it's Sedona. And we went there, and I saw pictures from there, and I thought, oh, we'll be able to find it and all. We blew the entire shoot. We blew the entire thing. We never found a good location. We never found that spot because I didn't really do the scouting up front. And one thing I like to do is I like to go during the day in bright, awful light, figure out, is this where I want to be tonight when the light is great? And I did this in the Faroe Islands, and it really paid off for me. We went to this location that I knew we were going when it was bad light, but I thought if I go there and it's what I think it is, I'm going to come back that night. And it was, and it worked out great. But when you don't really spend the time to scout and you just show up and figure everything will fall in place, it's a roll of the dice. And we blew the whole shoot. I got nothing. You never see pictures from Sedona, Arizona from me. And a lot of photographers have wonderful photos from there. And Eric Acuna was showing some shots last week where they went to Arizona, just outside of Phoenix, and it had a great. I never heard of the place he shot. It was awesome. He had these great rock formations and these great sky, and he's really in the zone. Eric Acuna is winning the award for the hardest working, most improved photographer in America, and he's coming back with just lights out stuff. Really, really well composed, perfectly post processed, just all the way around. Right outside of Phoenix, I'm like, dude, I've been to Phoenix so many times, I've never seen that area. Never heard of it, never seen pictures from it. So scouting, yes.
Yes, and local knowledge, ask people who, a special spot, that I shouldn't miss. So that's always a super helpful thing. So local knowledge.
They know it. They know it better than you do. Okay, what else? What else we got?
Definitely use all the apps. I have like a whole bunch of apps. Photopills, Photographers Ephemeris, the weather apps, Windy, anything location and tide, especially because I like to do a lot of seascapes. So I want to know if that incoming tide might reach me quickly. So I want to make sure I don't get taken out to sea. But I do like to know. I like to know what phase, the moon phase. So I kind of like to know all those little extra things. And if there's a storm coming, sometimes that can make a really great story. Just being far enough away to be able to capture a beautiful storm over a landscape is really one of my favorite things to do. I would say also to use a variety of lenses to tell your story. So the first time I went to Palouse out in Washington, I was thinking, wow, this is like a wide angle place, right? I'm going to use my wide angle lens, get all these kind of beautiful shots. But I ended up using a telephoto zoom at places like Steptoe Butte to bring that location a little bit closer, more intimate. So it was just the opposite of what I thought. So bring a variety of lenses. And I personally am a big fan of the fisheye. So I like to do a lot of fisheye shots, especially in cities, and, shoot up and get all kinds of different, like you said, shoot around, just get different points of view and perspectives.
Yeah. So Deb, I wish I'm going to ask you a question I wish I'd asked the other instructors that were on today, but because you brought up the Palouse is on my list. I've never been there. I've always wanted to shoot it. I've never done it. And I heard the exact same thing that you said, that it is surprisingly a telephoto shot and not a wide angle. But besides the Palouse, if you could give a great landscape location in the United States, someplace that you love to shoot, where would you choose? Like if you had a free ticket, where would you go?
Oh, a free ticket. Oh, I love the big cities. So I love San Francisco, New York City. These are local shots that you showed. I like to go in my backyard too. So if the weather's really beautiful, I may just hop up to Sanford. There's a big lake, and South Beach is amazing. So this was nighttime at South Beach. So I do a lot of beach stuff because this is where I grew up. So it's near to my home. And Quebec City would be another place. Montreal was absolutely gorgeous. But if I could go anywhere in the world, I would take the ticket to Santorini.
Oh, yes. I've only been once, and I've always waited. You know what's funny? My wife and I were sitting there talking last week, like, how do we get back to Santorini? It is. Yes. That's an amazing place. I was only there for one day.
Oh, my.
And I was on a cruise ship. So the cruise ship takes you to the island right after the good light, and you have to be back on the ship right before the good light. But it is, I will say this, you can get a decent travel shot in the day in Santorini because of the bright blue colors on the roofs and the white walls. The contrast is just wonderful. But I want to stay in one of those hotels that has the pool right there by your room, the private pools. That's probably where you stayed. I'm like, it's tendering on a boat.
I'm out taking pictures. I never hit the pool. Or eating, actually eating the food.
Oh,
there
the
was absolutely
food.
amazing.
Oh, you're really, this hurts. All right. So that's some really great tips. I loved your shot from South Beach.
Thank you.
All right. So Deb, this has nothing to do with anything, but because you mentioned South Beach. So today, it just has nothing to do with anything we're talking about except for South Beach.
Okay.
My 25-year-old son took his 16-year-old sister and drove her to Miami for a K-pop concert tonight. She is a big K-pop fan, so Korean pop. And so he is such a good big brother. These two are so tight. They're like very best friends. And he offered to drive her and take her. So they're staying on South Beach tonight. And they're going down for the concert, and my daughter is so excited. But the two of them they're the best friends. They're 9 years apart, and they're just best friends. And when you mention South Beach, I'm like, oh, they're on their way there, right? I just talked to them right before the grid. I called them just to see how they were doing. They were about an hour outside of Miami, but they're staying on South Beach. They will not get pictures, anything like that. Hey,
they'll have pictures in their heart. I mean, that's going to be amazing.
Oh, look at that.
Thank you.
Oh, your use of color is so good. I mean, I love your long exposure stuff, and you're doing great stuff with the skies. But, your use of color, oh, look at this. Your use of color is just wonderful.
Thank you.
Oh, God, you're making me sick with these shots. They're beautiful.
Oh, thank you so much.
Crap, I got to sell my gear now.
Oh,
you know what? Maybe I'll use it for vacation because it's not doing me any good. These are just beautiful. I love your South Beach stuff. The one that we just saw, that's my favorite. That's nice. But to go back one more, go back to that one with the clouds and the guard shack.
Yeah, the lifeguard towers are amazing. Every so often, it's like this is the 10th Street lifeguard stand, and each lifeguard stand is unique. You could just spend. So I usually go, like you were talking about earlier, get there before sunrise and then just wait for that light, or stay after sunset and just wait for that time frame. And this was a sunrise, and it was just so amazing of the clouds and getting behind that lifeguard tower, being able to capture that. It's just it's fun. It's artistic, but it's a fun thing to do. Very soul satisfying.
But looking at your images, Deb, this is such a great lesson for anyone watching when we talk about the importance of sky. Like, why is it so important to have a great sky? Because it not only holds the color, which it does in such a great way, but it just adds such interest. We love clouds. Clouds are such a romantic thing for us. Now, where's this taken?
That is
Oregon?
in Seattle, I think on the coast. Yes.
Wow.
So yeah, briefly I had a nice opportunity to go out there. But it was really pretty. It's very vast. Lots of driving.
Oh yeah, I love the color, but your use of color is just. You've got such a great sensibility for it, and your post-processing is very nice.
Oh, thank you.
Your post is on look at this. Oh my God. I'm sorry. I'm getting us so off topic because I'm just loving looking at your photos. I'm sorry. All right. So Deb, we're literally just about out of time, but do you have any other last tips before we roll?
Oh, absolutely. I would suggest carrying neutral density filters. What you talked about earlier was, getting that choppy water out. A neutral density filter will help you extend that time. So if you do have the opportunity to shoot midday, you can smooth the water and you still have the expressive cloud. So I always pack a 15 stop.
Ooh, a 15 stop. Woo! All right. Well, a lot of times, like on the grid, when we do our blind critiques, we see people using like a 3 stop. And it's just not enough. And so I have a 10 and a 3 and I stack them. But a 15 stop. 15
is where it's at. Yes.
It is. No, you're right. That's where it's at. Now I got to go buy. Now you're costing me money. Now I got to go buy a 15 stop. Hey, if I can shoot stuff like yours, I'll buy it. It'll be worth it. Well, Deb, thank you so much for joining us today. We're looking forward to seeing you at the conference. Where can people go look at more of your work? Where can they follow you on social and stuff?
So my handle is Deb Sandage. That's pretty much for Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You can reach me there. And my website is Deb Sandage or Deborah Sandage. You can find me there. Happy to answer questions. Thank you so much.
Ooh, I love that. Oh, can we go? Oh, can you show that? Can we show that boat picture again? I'm sorry, Deb, to do this to you.
Oh no, that's great.
I want to see that. Can you scroll through to that? You've got a lifeboat. not a lifeboat, a rowboat is the word I'm looking for. It's tough to make a good lifeboat shot, but you have a rowboat, and the patina in the water, the color is just, it looks like a painting. It looks just so pretty. And
reflections. Try, if you have that opportunity to capture reflections, because it really, I mean, the boat was just to anchor the photograph, but it was all about the reflections. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Well, just looking at your work, guys, if you've seen three amazing photographers with completely different styles today, right? They're all shooting landscape, and they're all doing it in their own different way. And we always brag about we get the best instructors like that. We're kind of obsessed with making sure that our instructors are number one, that they're doing it for the right reasons, that they're doing this is because they're called to share what they've learned, right? For whatever reason, like teaching is their calling and their passion. But they have to be really good photographers and really good educators. That's a lot to ask in one person. But Deb, you are all of that, and we're very honored to have you at the conference. We'll see you very soon. Make sure you follow her on social media so you see a stream of beautiful color and great compositions in your social media feed. Thanks again, Deb. We really do appreciate it. See you soon. Oh, she's so good. Oh my gosh, it's just all I'm thinking of is, what could I get for my R6? I could probably I got some nice lenses. I could sell my stuff, go on vacation, and just use my phone. Okay, we got some prize winners here. Congratulations to these folks who have won a lot of the goodies we're giving away today. Congratulations to Jessica in Michigan, who won the Boris Effect Optics. You are going to love that plug-in. Frank Dinkelman, you won the On-One Effects. You are going to love that plug-in. Nina, you won the Platypod accessory kit. You're going to hate it. It's worthless. No, it's awesome. You're going to love it. I've got two myself. Marianne Dent, you won my travel photography book, so congratulations and thank you. And my Lightroom Classic book goes to Sharon Scharf. So congratulations. Now, how do you get these? Do they just appear out of nowhere? No. First, you have to email us at Grid Prize. So it's Grid Prize at kelby1.com. Include your mailing address in there. We will verify that you are really the person that won, and then we will ship all those to you expediently, because expeditious speeding is what we done. All right, don't forget the Landscape Conference is coming up in 2 weeks. We would love to have you there. You just got a hint of some of the great instructors that we have. I mean, they're so good, and there's many more. And of course, I want you to watch my course on creating epic skies, because I think I've got some really exciting stuff to show you. We are going to use some of the new features in Lightroom and Photoshop that really change the game for skies. So that's really a lot of fun. That's all coming up. All right, anything else important? Hopefully Mr. Kuna will be back next week. I would like to know, and I want someone to research this, how many weeks a year of vacation does Mr. Kuna get? It seems like 20, 25 something. It's a lot, because he's always gallivanting. Have you noticed that? If you go to the dictionary, you look up gallivanting, Eric's picture is actually there. But seriously, all joking aside, Eric is shooting lights out, man. Whether he's shooting aviation or astrophotography or nighttime photography, the guy is on fire. If you go follow Eric Kuna on his Instagram, and you're gonna be like, what's this guy doing? And Eric is doing the thing that we talk about. He's putting in the time. He's investing in his photography, and Eric does not buy a bunch of gear. He buys accessories, but Eric, it took him like 2 years to get a mirrorless camera. He just bought his first mirrorless. He's not just throwing money around, but when he invested in making great photos. So it's neat to see all of his great work. Okay. Thank you to all of the folks that all the instructors, to Ian and Aaron and Deb, for all joining us today. They were great, and they had such great tips. Thank you guys for the tips that you shared with us today. So we know many of you are very, very accomplished photographers that watch this show, and it is wonderful for you to share your expertise here as well. We will be back next week. Thanks to our sponsors. Thanks to my crew here for coming in and helping us out. And we will see you guys next Wednesday right here on The Grid. Take care, everybody.